Welcome to the Tea Time Podcast, where it's all about taking a few healthy minutes each day just for you, with your host, Sharissa Bradley.
Hello and welcome back. I'm so happy to have you on another episode of the Tea Time Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about digestion. How exciting! I wanted to talk to you guys about digestion because it's been coming up a lot in my Facebook group and in just my friend group in general. People asking me things like why their food just isn't sitting well and why it's coming out in a way that isn't normal, or what's happening with all of these amazing supplements that they're trying to put in their body and just doesn't seem to really stick. Those are all really incredibly valid questions. And if you're having any problem with digesting your food, or you have pain or gas or IBS or inflammation in your gut, Crohn's, celiac disease, any of those, SIBO, candida infections, all of that has to do with poor digestion and gut health. So it's a really important thing to pay attention to. And it's also something that, if taken the right steps to correct, can be very easily fixed. So this is something that's incredibly important. If you have autoimmune disease like I do, this is one of the first places you got to start, because if you're going to take a bunch of supplements or even medications for an ailment that you're dealing with, it's very important that all of those supplements, nutrients, good food that you're eating, all of that gets digested properly, because if not, then it's just a giant waste of money, and you might as well be eating Hot Pockets every single day because it's not going to get to the places where it needs to go. So digestion is actually a really hugely multifaceted topic and really, really important place to start looking at. I want to give you a couple of tips today on how to just kind of check in with yourself and see, like, hey, am I digesting my food properly? Am I getting the most out of what I'm putting in? This is really, really important if you're shopping at the farmer's market every single week and you're putting a lot of money into grass-fed or pasture-raised proteins. I mean, this is determining whether or not you're using that money wisely, or if that money is just coming out in a way that's actually causing you a lot of pain. Because if you're not digesting properly, then it can create a lot of pain. Like, gas and bloating is not a comfortable thing to have. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a symptom. So if that's something that you're dealing with, it's not normal, and it doesn't have to be that way. You can definitely have really amazing digestion and feel really great after you're eating your meals. So a couple of things to look for. I've already mentioned a bunch of little symptoms that can come from not having proper digestion. But if you, again, like going down the list, if you've been diagnosed with autoimmune disease, then most likely you have digestion issues. If you have skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, those can also be really big indicators that the skin on the inside of our body, it's also it's a dermal layer. So like the outside of our body is epidermis, it's skin. The inside of our body is exactly the same material, that same dermal layer, but it's just wet. It's all covered in, saliva or mucus wherever the body is. All the inside organs are very similar. The tissue matches. So if we have problems on the outside, most likely they're mirroring problems that we're having on the inside. And it's kind of like the body's last attempt to say, hey, there's something going on inside of here and I could use some help. So those are indications of improper digestion. But you can also have much smaller indicators if you get bloated after a meal. So your belly gets a little bit distended or becomes really hard, or your pants are just a little bit more uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about like after your Thanksgiving meal, because that's everybody, right? I mean, we all like wear the sweatpants and take a nap on the couch afterwards. I'm talking about a regular meal. If you ate a big salad at lunch and you went back to work and your stomach was distended, it shouldn't have been distended from a salad. So there might be some improper digestion going on there, which again can be really easily resolved without having to feel that discomfort every day. Again, it's not a normal thing, which means that we can do some work to go backwards on this and heal. Another one would be if you're getting candida or yeast infections. That can mean that there's an overgrowth of candida in the gut. And actually, that can mean that there's like a little war going on between your bacteria and yeast, which is fungal. And that is creating some what we call dysbiosis and kind of like a little war. And they're trying to like fight for territorial battle, like who will win, who will grow the fastest. And often candida as a fungus is a lot stronger than your gut bacteria. So it can create a lot of problems. In fact, candida infections can create anxiety, depression, panic disorder, all kinds of mental health issues, as well as a huge amount of digestional upsets. And some people may even feel or experience chronic yeast infections because they've got so much of it in their body that it's kind of traveling into other areas and creating an even more uncomfortable situation for you, more apparent situation for you. So this is a really big deal. And that can be a sign that there's some problems going on in the gut. And then one other one that I wanted to talk about is called SIBO. And SIBO is an acronym that stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that's just a big fancy word for saying there's a lot more bad bacteria in your gut than there is good bacteria. And that again is waging a war, similar to the fungal versus bacterial war. If we have too many bacteria in our gut that are not helping support us, then they're actually taking the nutrients that we're trying to put into our body away from us. And those bacteria are absorbing and getting stronger, and we are actually getting weaker as that's happening in our body. So this tends to happen if we've had a lot of antibiotics in our life, or if our primary source of calories is coming from a lot of sugar, because sugar tends to feed those bad bacteria. And if they're getting fed more often than the good bacteria in the gut, then they're growing faster than the good ones are. And that then creates that dysbiosis. Again, all of these things are very easy to reverse. And there's actually a ton of information on like SIBO diets and candida diets online now that you can access and get a pretty good PDF that will tell you exactly what to eat and exactly what to avoid for the exact amount of time to start seeing progress. The real big problem here is when you start doing those diets and you start doing those protocols, often what happens when you have either candida or SIBO or some type of digestional upset is you tend to get a little bit worse before you get better, because those bacteria are going to try to fight back, and they go through what's called a die-off, meaning they're dying, but they're putting up a fight when they're going. And that fight makes you feel pretty crappy, kind of like flu-like symptoms. People who have skin disorders can have even more skin breakouts. And the most common response to something like that is to think you're having a reaction to what you're doing and to immediately stop, when really the best reaction to have for that is to like go cheer and go back and listen to my Celebrate the Wins episode, because that's something to celebrate. Your body is getting rid of all of the things that aren't necessary for it to hold on to anymore, and that's going to come out in ways, unfortunately, that are not very comfortable. But once you pass through that kind of like hell, basically, you come out the other side cleaner, fresher, and stronger, with a less likely chance of getting those problems again. So that's actually pretty cool. So digestion as a whole, if you are not digesting your food properly, again, you're not getting all of those nutrients that you need. And what I mean by that, and I guess I should explain a little bit about the importance of all that bacteria in your gut rather than just telling you that it's there. But that bacteria, we actually have a symbiotic relationship with them, meaning that they work for us and we work for them as well. Without the bacteria that we have in our gut, we would not be able to digest insoluble fiber. I'm sure you've seen soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, or the fact that there were a couple different kinds of fiber. And what that actually means, soluble means that we can break it down on our own. Our body knows how to digest it and we can break it down. Insoluble means we don't know how to break it down. And in fact, the bacteria in our gut do the work for us. And they turn that insoluble fiber into nutrients that we need. And this is kind of a really cool process that happens not just in human animals, but in other animals as well. So, cows and pigs and all of these other animals, they have this same kind of process. But it's actually really cool with cows. And I don't know why I got really fascinated with cows. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine who owns a rescue sanctuary for animals called me and said that one of her new cows that she had just rescued from an auction, it was a baby cow that was ripped from its mom. It was so sad, and it was dying because it didn't have any of the nutrients that it needed right from birth, and it was going on 3 days without anything. So they got this cow, rescued it, brought it home, but it was having a lot of problems, fevers, racing heartbeat, all these like racing breath, things like that. And she was really struggling to survive. And so my friend called me and she asked me if I could recommend anything for the cow. And she asked me if I would come out to the farm and muscle test the cow. And I had never even been near livestock, let alone like touched one before or tried to heal one. So it was kind of like a magical experience for me. I'm forever changed by this little cow. I muscle tested her and found that her lungs were having a problem, and I was able to support this cow. But in order for me to find out where this cow's lungs were, because I needed to be able to touch that area on the body to be able to muscle test, and I'll get into muscle testing in another episode, but in order to find out what was wrong with the cow, I needed to be able to access that area of the body. And I didn't know where it was because I had no idea what cow anatomy was. And in doing my research about this cow, or for this cow, I found that not only do they have two stomachs, so some people know this, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but cows actually have two stomachs. And the first stomach is called a rumen, and cows are primarily only supposed to eat grass. That's their only diet. That's what they're built for. They're not supposed to have any grain at all. And the reason for this is because they have these really special bacteria in their first stomach that eats all the grass, because grass isn't actually digestible to the cows. It eats all the grass for them and it turns it into a complete protein. All of the amino acids that cow needs to build the way it builds. So it's eating grass and it's getting all of the nutrients like B vitamins and the nutrients that the grass is getting from the sun. But as far as the nutrients that it provides, the protein, that's actually coming from the bacteria in the gut. So this kind of blew my mind, really blew my mind. And it made me want to look more into the human bacteria. And that's where I learned that we really have this relationship with our gut, that if we deplete it, if we starve the gut of the nutrients that it needs and starve the bacteria, or kind of do our part to create that war by eating a lot of sugar things or drinking too much alcohol without having any protein. We talked about alcohol in the last episode, and all of those things can kind of damage that relationship that we have with our gut. And if we're not taking care of it, it can't take care of us. And a lot of the things that the bacteria digest for us are like our vitamins, vitamin D, our B vitamins, calcium, all of those things that we're taking. We rely on our bacteria to break that down for us so that we can actually use those nutrients. But if you don't have enough gut bacteria, or if you don't have the right amount or the right kinds in your gut, or you have too much bad ones, all of those good vitamins and nutrients that are coming through the food, just like the cow with the grass, it doesn't translate the way it needs to translate because you don't have enough of those bacteria doing the work for you. So that's why this craze for probiotics has come in like really strongly in the last year. And I think it's also why there's a little bit of confusion about digestive enzymes and probiotics. So probiotics are basically bacteria that have been grown in cultures, typically yogurt, a cow-based substance, so like milk, and then they culture it, and then they let it grow, and they let it ferment. And that fermentation allows for bacteria in the air to grow in this drink, usually, or pill sometimes. And then you can actually take that supplement or that pill or those drinks, and that gut bacteria will go inside of your body, or that bacteria that you're taking, the probiotics, will go inside of your body and they'll do some work for you. And they'll be in there for about 2 weeks. So if you take a probiotic supplement, that bacteria goes into your gut and it helps you to do all of the work that you need to do. So that's digesting your food, helping you break down all of those minerals, and also helping to battle for the the good bacteria, bad bacteria fight that's kind of always going on because we want to make sure we keep that balance. So we need this good bacteria in order to digest our food because it works for us. But there's this other process of digesting food that the pancreas helps us with. And the pancreas supplies us with digestive enzymes, and those enzymes help to break down the food into smaller particles, and then it helps the bacteria in the gut to be able to absorb those things. Because remember, the bacteria in our gut are really teeny tiny. So if we're eating a bunch of food that isn't broken down very well, that bacteria is not going to be able to get to the nutrients if the particles are too large. So the digestive enzymes actually help us to break it down a little bit further, so that the probiotics can do their job. So if you're worried about your digestive health and you think like, oh, but I'm taking probiotics, it sometimes isn't enough because we actually need some digestive support a little bit higher as well during that first phase of digestion in the stomach before it even goes down into the digestive tract, or that lower digestive tract, the small and large intestine. So there's a lot of different things about digestion, and it's really important to understand kind of where you're at. So check in with yourself and think, how am I feeling? Am I digesting my food? Or after you eat a meal, are you feeling really like tired? Or are you feeling really energized? If you're feeling really tired, it means that your body's working way too hard to digest the food that you just ate, and it doesn't have enough energy left for you to stand upright. So you're like, oh my gosh, I just ate this huge bowl of pasta. It's not actually like a food coma. We think like, oh, we had too much like heavy food. It's actually that our body is working really hard to break all that food down for us. And by adding something like a digestive enzyme, the probiotic, and also acid to the stomach, like with hydrochloric acid, they actually make hydrochloric acid supplements now. So if you're having an acid problem, you can actually add a little bit with your meals. That'll help you in that first phase of digestion. And then those probiotics are going to help work during that lower phases of digestion. So all of those things working together can actually make sure that you're absorbing the nutrients that you're absorbing, and that we're keeping that symbiotic relationship with the bacteria in our gut really healthy and really strong. Now, if you're dealing with some kind of problem, if you have some kind of like dysbiosis for sure, like, oh, I totally have candida, or any of those problems, I definitely recommend getting tested, making sure that you're taking care of the best things that you can do. A candida diet is like no sugar. You really got to be careful about the grains and things that you eat. There's also plenty of supplements that can help to knock out fungal and bacterial overgrowths. And then just adding in those probiotics and things like that can be really useful as well. When you're taking your time to repair your gut, it's really important to understand that taking too many supplements while you're trying to repair your digestive health is going to be kind of useless energy because your body isn't breaking those things down. So it's going to be harder for your body to absorb all of those nutrients anyways. In that case, I recommend doing either transdermal supplements, which means through the skin. So magnesium, if you're lacking in magnesium, which most of us are, they make magnesium sprays, and you can spray that on yourself so that you're absorbing the magnesium through your skin rather than relying on your digestive system to do it for you. You can also do under the tongue supplements like a liquid vitamin D, liquid B vitamin complex. Both of those will digest through the saliva, so it actually gets into the system a lot better, a lot faster. And you don't have to rely on your digestive system to break it down for you. So you're going to get those good vitamin D doses, and you're also going to get the B vitamin complex, which is, really good to support yourself, support energy, support digestion, all of that. And your mood. B vitamins can be really helpful if you're dealing with digestive health that maybe is causing depression, anxiety, things like that. Those B vitamins are really going to help with the mood and all of it. Anyways, so digestive health. I want you to, again, check in with yourself How are you feeling? Are you feeling like things that you're dealing with are normal or that you can live with them for the rest of your life? Because if you're having any kind of upset or problem, just know that it doesn't have to be that way forever. And there's lots of really great ways, and easy ways, in fact, to kind of take care of yourself a little bit better by looking out for your digestive health. And you can really see some huge differences. I mean, just killing a candida infection can reverse things like depression and anxiety, which I have personally dealt with. And I can tell you that if there was any way to make sure I never, ever had to go through that again, I'd be willing to jump through hoops for it. And that's what I did. I had myself had plenty of dysbiosis and had to heal my gut through this journey that I've been going on through clean eating and taking my supplements and things like that. And I've had to do a lot of troubleshooting, and unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. So I want to be able to give you guys the advice that I didn't get to have because nobody told me anything, and I had to learn by a lot of trial and error. Anyway, so if you guys have more questions about digestive health, let me know. You guys can send me an email. You can check me out in the Facebook group, and I would love to hear from you. I hope to talk to you guys soon, and I hope you have a great week.
Thank you for spending your tea time with us. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Living well and shining on what you're about. Eating well is loving from the inside out. So take the time and love yourself. Take your plans off of the shelf. 'Cause for all you love, with all that you do, don't forget to love you too.